All right. In a story that we told you was coming, the Mountain West has verbally invited Texas State to join the conference for Mountain West expansion. And again, this revives, I think, the biggest story in college football right now, which is the Mountain West versus the Pac-12. What's a better situation? And I will continue to tell you, sources in the TV industry tell me that the Mountain West is in a far better position because they have leverage. They have a relationship with their TV partners that is long lasting. They have commitments from their TV partners. They have now a renewed grant of rights through 2031. They kept UNLV. They kept the Las Vegas market. And now they are reaching out to the state of Texas, which gives them a real advantage over the Pac-12. Texas State, as we've talked about on this show, we told you last week, was a significant target of both the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. And it feels like the Mountain West got the jump on the Pac-12 in this situation by verbally inviting Texas State to join the conference. We told you again, this is going to be a quickly moving, fluid situation with both the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. And Texas State might be the battlefield for that. And one of the things that I think is so incredibly important is what sources close to the situation have told us, that they are willing to make significant financial concessions, the Mountain West is, to Texas State to help lighten the financial burden of Texas State jumping up a level to join the Mountain West Conference. The Pac-12 is not currently in position to do that because they are now embattled in legalities in a lawsuit they filed against the Mountain West. Their cash is tied up. And it's a big question for the Pac-12. How much money do they actually have to play with? Because the Mountain West, under any circumstance, no matter what happens in that lawsuit, the Mountain West isn't cutting anybody in the Pac-12 a check. In fact, it is very likely that the only way that lawsuit ends up is in a settlement where the Pac-12 is cutting the Mountain West a significant check. All that does is help the Mountain West build a war chest to get schools and universities like Texas State into the Mountain West. And Jake, it feels like the Mountain West has an advantage in expansion.
Absolutely. And I think that, that advantage, stems from the fact that, you've already got things like a TV deal hammered out. You've already got, a clear path forward and a clear, painted picture as to why, joining, the Mountain West will benefit a team like Texas State, a school like Texas State. And I think that, it's really interesting. Like, the Mountain West has kind of gone through this roller coaster of, hey, the Pac-12 stole our best brands. And then, we now have to kind of build back and we have to kind of add schools and we got to figure out what the right schools are. And now they're going through that process. And I think that, again, as we kind of talked about last week, Gloria Nevarez deserves a ton of credit for the job that she's doing, because I can tell you in our time covering the Pac-12, not just this go around, but that last go around, there are loads of conversations that happen every day with conference leadership. And it is crucial, pivotal, of the utmost importance that your commissioner can get in the room with any, president or AD, and have a productive conversation. She's clearly showing the ability to do that. And I think that's why the Mountain West has this little sense of momentum, because it's like, hey, we've got the TV deal. We just need to find a school that makes sense. And it'd be nice if that was in the state of Texas. And I feel like, yeah, that is why the Mountain West has, a really good shot at getting this Texas State thing done. And if that happens, they're obviously in a much better position. So to me, I just think that the hard part for the Pac-12 is that it's the way you're being viewed. It's it's everything from like, hey, the way you handled, gutting the Mountain West or your attempt to do that, everything from 100%. That to this lawsuit, like you're just not viewed favorably right now. And that could be, a prospective member institution like Texas State. It could be, other commissioners. Like, you're just not viewed positively. And I think that that's really kind of, pulling you back, if you will, from getting done what you want to get done.
Yeah. And I think, again, going from the Sun Belt, which is where Texas State now is, to the Mountain West, it's significantly more money to compete at a high level in the Mountain West than it is to compete at a high level in the Sun Belt. And with all due respect to teams like Arkansas State or directional Alabama, Texas State to compete against the UNLVs of the world, the Air Force academies, to compete at that level is going to require more educational infrastructure for the football team. You are going to have to invest significantly more money in things like your training table, in things like your weight room, in things like your facilities on the whole, if you want to recruit and you want to level up. And I think that's what a university like Texas State is going to have to get into, because you're also probably going to have to invest more money in things like scholarships. And if you're putting more scholarships on your books, you've got to put more grant money on your books. You have to put more revenue sharing money on your books. You have to put more NIL money on your books. It's just a bigger project. So I look at this in this debate that has it engulfed people in this conference? I think it has. If you look at the Pac-12, and I can only tell you the conversations we're having, whether it's people in the TV industry, whether it is people close to these universities, we've been on this story for 2.5 years, and I think we've gotten it very, very right. And there is a real feeling of uncertainty amongst people in the TV industry about the Pac-12's ability to get to that $10 million a year per school number.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can lose Texas State here. If Texas State, because most people I spoke to over the weekend feel like Texas State's going to end up in the Mountain West if they choose to jump up, because that's still a question. The real battleground, in my opinion, is in El Paso with UTEP. If you are the Mountain West and you get Texas State and UTEP, that is going to be really difficult for the Pac-12 to overcome. And I can tell you on sources really close to that situation, the Mountain West is looking at New Mexico, UTEP, and Texas State. And if they add those three and they get Northern Illinois, I think you are in a really bad spot if you are the Pac-12.
Yep. No,
Because
I completely agree.
I don't know how you overcome that. And I understand, again, and if you read our comment section here on the show, you know darn well that Pac-12 fan is in a very defensive posture here. I understand that. You are, whether you believe it or not, the underdog in this discussion.
Facts.
Because I want to make this clear. We have worked really hard to develop a sourcing network on this story. And you look at what the TV folks are saying about the Pac-12. There's not a belief system that the CW and a streaming deal gets them to $10 million a year per school. There just isn't. Because if you are, and let's say it is the CW, because the Pac-12 and the CW, as we've reported on this show, have talked and have an agreement of sorts where, hey, if you're able to add universities in this footprint, in Vegas was critical to this. That was the only reason the Mountain West survives here, is because they kept UNLV and Reno. Those two markets were really critical markets for the Pac-12 and for the CW. So now you have to go back to the CW if you're the Pac-12, and they've got to get a win in the state of Texas. The Pac-12 has got to get a win in the state of Texas. You've lost on Memphis. You've lost on South Florida. You've lost on Tulane. You've got to have a win now. And if I am the Pac-12, and I was talking to a very well-placed television source last night on this exact subject matter, if I am the Pac-12, I am moving in silence. I am telling nobody. I am empowering my two key stakeholders. Scott Barnes, the athletic director, and the commissioner of the Pac-12 have to move in silence together. And they've got to go get a win, because the leaks in this conference are significant. They're not able, and they haven't been able to move at this point in a fashion that keeps their motives secret. And that is hurting the Pac-12, because Texas State, you can absorb that loss. But mark my words, here on September 30th, 2024, if they don't get UTEP, if they don't find a win inside of the state of Texas, the Pac-12 is in real trouble of not surviving at all.
Facts.
Because they won't be able to get a TV deal that secures their agreements with those 4 schools from the Mountain West. Now, do those 4 schools end up back in the Mountain West? Probably not. Probably not. Would the Mountain West take them back? Oh, certainly. At a nice discount. And Boise State's already getting significantly more money than anybody else in the Mountain West. If they end up having to put their tail between their legs and they go back to the Mountain West, Jake, they're gonna take significantly less money to make that move back to the Mountain West. And I don't think that would happen. I think they would go to the AAC or nowhere, because I don't think they're getting a power invite.
Mm-hmm.
But make no mistake about it, UTEP is the battleground, and it is here's that word again for the Pac-12. It's an existential crisis. You win the state of Texas, or you probably do not exist.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about these schools going back to the Mountain West, the discount that you'll pay is hardly, is a small price to pay compared to the hit your reputation is going to take. And I think that the decision to leave the Mountain West as hastily as you did could come back to get you. Now, again, there's no guarantees of that, right? Maybe they add a school, they get a TV deal, they shock the world, and things go perfectly. Maybe that happens, but everything that we're seeing, everything that we're being told would indicate that the competition for the state of Texas is high, obviously, and the Mountain West has the edge. And again, I don't even look at it, from the conference's point of view. Look at it from Texas's state point of view, right?
Yes.
Texas State's point of view of like, hey, what opportunity makes more sense? What would benefit us more? And furthermore, what's a more reliable decision? Because that word to me is paramount to any institution's ability to make a decision, right? I mean, you look at Memphis and Ted Scott, the AD there, coming out and essentially roasting the Pac-12 last week. Like he said it was a bad deal for Memphis. Now, does that mean it's a bad deal for Texas State? Well, certainly not. Right. It may be a better deal because of where they're at versus where Memphis is at.
Yeah.
But I just think that the Pac-12 situation just isn't good enough for a school to say, yeah, man, wow, like this is a great opportunity. Love what Scott Barnes and everyone over there is doing. Let's get on that. Let's get on board that wagon. Schools aren't saying that. What schools are saying is, hey, we're Texas State. We have it reasonably good right now. We're in a good, secure position. If we change that position, what are the odds it actually works out favorably for us?
Well, and I want to play the Ed Scott bite again, because I do think it matters. What Scott said about the Pac-12 is up for much conjecture. But as we have this argument right here about the Pac-12 versus the Mountain West, is Ed Scott being critical of the Pac-12 here?
If y'all haven't seen the latest reports of what's going on between the Mountain West and the Pac-6, 7 right now, this is a fluid situation, right? So that's the other thing. When we talk about the decision that was made by the University of Memphis to not join the Pac, as I like to call them right now at this time, that was not a binary decision. That was not a no, we're not ever going anywhere. That was based on the offer that was presented in front of us, that we're not taking that offer because...
I don't know how you're not being critical of the Pac-12 there. And again, I go back to Teresa Gould, who is the commissioner of the Pac-12. Is she new blood in that conference? She's not. She's been there since what, 2018? That's old guard. And the thing that I continue to hear is this is the same way of doing business. It's why you knew as soon as that deal was not made to merge the Mountain West and the Pac-12. That's when you started hearing the whispers of, well, are they going after Boise? That's when you heard, is the Mountain West going to survive? That's when you heard all of that stuff started creeping in. And so, again, I go back to this question here of what's the better situation? And I think the better situation is the Mountain West right now. And I don't know how you make the case if you are the Pac-12 to a UTEP or a Texas State. Hey, come join us because we're in a better spot than the Mountain West is. I don't think that's the argument you can be making. If I'm the Pac-12 and I'm trying to survive here, I'm sending Scott Barnes, who's one of the most respected athletic directors in the country, to El Paso, and I'm saying, hey, come help us build something special. Come help us build the best G5 conference in the country. Because if we get you, Texas, El Paso, there's a chance the Mountain West doesn't survive. And if we get you, Texas, El Paso, then we can go to DeKalb, Illinois and get Northern Illinois. And then we can go to Toledo and get Toledo. Then you're starting to say, okay, we have 3 time zones at a minimum. We can battle the Mountain West here. And in all likelihood, we can put the final nail in the Mountain West coffin. I think that's the only way you can go about it.
Yeah, and I think that's your pitch. But the problem is, even though that's the pitch, I totally agree with that. It's got red flags inherently all over it because of the money we're talking about here per school. We're not talking about 20 a year per school, right? We're talking about 8 and trying to stretch to 10. We're not talking about, oh yeah, you're going to get 10 for, no, we're talking about, hey, 7 or 8, we're going to try and stretch to 10 when we add Prime. Amazon Prime is our streaming partner. And I think that's what's hard when you go to Texas State and you say, hey, come join us. And if you join us, that'll allow us to go and get after NIU and in Toledo and some of these other schools in the Midwest.
You lowballed Memphis.
Yeah.
That's what Ed Scott is saying, right?
Yeah.
Hey, they lowballed us.
Well, in that clip, towards the end, he talks about how important Olympic sports are to Memphis. And why does Olympic sports matter? Why does anyone care about Olympic sports? Well, because of the cost to move all of that. It's not a cheap thing. There's a lot of money that goes into whether it's football or powerlifting or shot put. Like there are all these sports inside of an athletic department that take money and take staff.
Well, and furthermore, the emotional toll that travel takes on. I remember when you were 18, 19. Right. Think about as the different lifestyle you live as and let's go with track and field, a track and field athlete or a stick and ball athlete versus a football or a basketball player who's staying in better cuts of hotels, who's traveling much, much better. But if you're a softball athlete, if you're a baseball athlete, you're on the road for 10 days at a time. You miss home, you miss your dorm, you miss your bed. And you're not fully in control of your emotions. And you're not focused on study hall. Because on the road, they still have study hall. In their hotels, they meet in the banquet room and they travel, more money, a tutor and an academic advisor, and they conduct study hall. And they have to have people that proctor their tests when you travel. So you're all on these iPads or laptops and you're taking a test. And you're trying to study for that test while you miss home and you miss your mom and you miss your best friend and she's going out on her first date and you can't be there, or because you're on the road in November playing a softball game in Palm Springs or in Tampa. That's the hard part. And I think people don't think about that. And so when you hear Ed Scott saying, hey, they lowballed us, well, if you're lowballing Memphis, what are you saying to Texas State?
Right.
And furthermore, I go back to my original point, and then I want to get into the comments section here. And the question I'm directly asking you is, Mountain West or Pac-12, what's the better situation? But back to my original point is, the Pac-12 doesn't have the money to do anything but lowball Memphis. Because when you're trying to get Memphis, USF, and Tulane, you can't afford that, because now you've put yourself in a jackpot of this lawsuit with the Mountain West that's going to hold up your cash for how long?
Yeah.
You're not a powerhouse like a Florida State who can have tens of millions of dollars held up in a lawsuit with the ACC. It's not who you are in the Pac-12 right now. It just isn't. Who's in the better situation, the Mountain West or the Pac-12? Big Blue Horses. Boise fans are like FSU fans, exhausting. They can be. They absolutely can be. Eric in Raleigh, is Scott Bakula still the quarterback at Texas State? Remember Sinbad? Oh, that was such a... What was the name of that movie? I can't remember that movie, the name, but it was amazing. What about Kathy Ireland as your kicker? God, remember Kathy Ireland. It's not my daddy, Texas State anymore. No, it's not. No, it is not. Jason Bateman played his annoying underclassman teammate. Somebody put in the comment section, what was the name of Unnecessary Roughness? Was that the name of that movie? Memphis is better off joining the Mountain West Conference, potentially. And if you're the Mountain West, you have certainly called them. But now those guys have all signed extended grant of rights in the AAC.
Yeah, they've made their bed.
That's over. It's over. They're not going to jump. That's over. UW fan Jim, the TV deal will be much better than the Mountain West deal simply because they have far better brands. Or do they? So because what are your real brands in the Pac-12 right now? Well, is San Diego State a football brand?
No,
it's not. Is the San Diego State market bringing you Southern California? It's not. It's bringing you San Diego. And is San Diego a great revenue generating market? It's not. It's the third market in Southern California. Los Angeles 1, Orange County 2, and San Diego 3. It's why you have the Los Angeles Chargers renting space at the Rams house instead of building a new stadium in San Diego. Well, and you have terrible owners who are jerks and didn't care about you. But other than that, other than the emotional damage,
who cares about all that?
You know, San Diego is not a great football brand.
I don't think the Pac definitively has better brands. Yes,
I don't think so
Boise
either.
State the crown jewel? Sure. But when you are going to the CW or Amazon Prime, you know, those are like Prime is a company that's going to tell you what the number is. You're not telling them. Like you may go to them and have an ask, but they're going to say, hey, this is what we're willing to pay. Take it or leave it. Because they don't need you. They want you, but they don't need you.
I agree. Dev MC, a member of the show for 3 months.
Let's go, Dev.
Thank you, Dev. Dunn might get a raise and an extension after this year. Casey Dunn, the offensive coordinator at Oak State. Don't speak that into existence because you might not be kidding.
Dude.
Ukrainian mail order bride says Pac-12 should get North Texas, UTEP, and New Mexico State. How has New Mexico State found themselves in a situation where they're in a better spot and have more leverage? That's the part that is
shocking.
Because you look at New Mexico State right now, and I think there are a couple brands in the Big Sky that are very interesting. And I wouldn't look past Sac State. Sacramento State wants it. They are thirsty. So I think the Big Sky certainly is one of them. But man, if you look around, like there's not a lot of great brands left that automatically make you a better league. And that's why I point to the Big Sky, and I say to myself, like, I look at GCU, Grand Canyon University, doesn't have a football team.
Right.
I think you've got to get Gonzaga and GCU to join the Pac-12. You need the basketball bread, right? Sacramento State just made a massive announcement about stadiums and are openly saying we're doing this to get into the Pac-12. Sacramento, NorCal's not the worst market in the world, right? But if you look at what is left in the Mountain West, they need a win. There's just no doubt that New Mexico State, UTEP, and Texas State, that's the battleground. That is the battleground. Big Bad Brass Bowls for $5.
Hey, Bulls.
Trying something new, getting up to see the show live. Well, we appreciate you being back on the show. It's always good to see you, Balls. Sorry if you already covered this. Does A-Rod survive? Aaron Roderick, the offensive coordinator at BYU. Seems to me that BYU won't survive him. I hate the play calling.
Yeah.
And I please feel free to mix in your football takes. Feel free. I'm here for it today on a Monday. There was a sequence in the third quarter. The play call on first down was a deep shot. Darius Lassiter dropped it. 2nd and 10.
So if the receiver drops it, that's a good play call. They executed the play. Darius dropped the football.
2nd and 10. They bring 8 men down to the line of scrimmage. So naturally, you're just going to turn around and hand it off into the A gap. 3rd and 11, I think it was. Pass down the field, incomplete. Punt. That's bad play calling. And I'm a Jake Retzloff fan. I think you guys know that. I believe he's the best quarterback at BYU. I know it. It's not even an argument. You're putting him in positions to fail. Those interceptions, one was egregiously bad. Those interceptions, Darius Laster being allergic to catching the football, asking him to throw the ball down the field into coverage multiple times does not set him up to succeed.